The author was struggling with unexplained physical symptoms like weakness in her legs and constant headaches. Tests showed no neurological problems. She was under immense stress from a grueling residency schedule and her mother's cancer diagnosis. Her body seemed to be manifesting the stress physically. She started cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which teaches problem-solving skills. After a few months of CBT, her physical symptoms disappeared and she felt more empowered. The author wanted to understand how to prevent stress from escalating to physical problems. She also wanted to use CBT methods to help her patients manage stress. After 9/11, the author worked with trauma victims as the lead psychiatrist at a WTC health program. This gave her insights into resilience. Some had serious trauma exposure, but no disorders. She wanted to understand how to not just treat problems, but enable people to thrive optimally. This led her to focus on strengths and optimism, not just deficits. The main message is that the author struggled with physical symptoms caused by extreme stress, found relief through CBT, and sought to understand resilience and optimism to help patients prevent and cope with stress in a more proactive, strengths-based way. While resilience is important for coping with adversity, flourishing goes beyond just bouncing back. It's about thriving, even in difficult times. The author draws from their experience working with 9/11 survivors, victims of violence, and those facing hardships to develop an approach called practical optimism. Practical optimism combines optimism, believing in one's potential and the potential of others, with practical skills for problem-solving, emotional regulation, building relationships, and developing healthy habits. These pillars allow one to not just withstand challenges, but to continue growing and making progress towards their goals even when facing distress. The approach draws from decades of research in positive psychology and is grounded yet accessible. It provides a framework for navigating life's ups and downs, coping with stressors, and sustaining momentum towards one's future aspirations. Overall, the message is that through developing the right mindset and skills, one can do more than just survive hardships. They can truly flourish. A Gallup survey found that 55% of Americans reported feeling stressed much of the day, compared to only 35% globally. Americans' stress, worry, and anger had intensified prior to the pandemic. The World Health Organization reports that 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health condition at some point. Women are at a 2 to 4 times higher risk due to multiple roles. Antidepressant use in the U.S. increased 65% between 1999 to 2014, with 1 in 8 Americans over 12 taking an antidepressant. Depression is the leading cause of ill health and disability worldwide, according to WHO. Studies have linked depression to increased mortality, reducing life expectancy by 10 to 12 years on average. Current evidence suggests social relationships and true confidants are declining for many people. Survey participants reported physical symptoms of emotional distress like headaches, fatigue, insomnia, and nervousness. Here is a summary of key points from the chapter. Practical optimism combines an optimistic mindset of affirmation, agency, and conviction with an acceptance of uncertainty and difficulties in life. It helps people cope with challenges and push towards goals. Optimism is shaped both by genetics and environment-learned behaviors. While some people have a more innate tendency towards optimism, it is also something anyone can cultivate through certain mindsets and habits. Practical optimists face problems squarely but don't stop there. They look to improve the situation. This avoids denial, but fosters resilience and proactivity. Optimists experience better physical and mental health outcomes, like lower risk of heart disease, better immune function, less cancer pain, stronger relationships, and happiness. Pessimists tend to blame themselves, personalize problems, see issues as pervasive across life, and view problems as permanent. They also remain passive in the face of obstacles. Optimism is linked to genes involving oxytocin stress response. Variations in these genes impact tendencies for stress, social skills, mental health. Practical optimism techniques can help reduce ruminating, worrying habits of pessimism that are unhealthy. The approach cultivates a proactive, solution-focused mindset. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, focuses on changing dysfunctional thinking patterns, beliefs, and behaviors. It aims to help patients recognize and challenge distorted or unhelpful thoughts and think in more realistic and adaptive ways. CBT techniques include thought logs to uncover distorted thoughts, distressing emotions, and maladaptive behaviors. It teaches coping skills like relaxation and assertiveness to replace avoidance. While optimism and pessimism often coexist, CBT can help people strengthen protective psychological resources to buffer against stress, depression, and anxiety. A person's level of optimism or pessimism can be influenced. The Cherokee story of the two wolves illustrates this. The wolf that wins is the one you choose to feed. Mental health issues are rising and undermining well-being globally. While medication has benefits, CBT provides lifelong thinking and coping skills that may better promote lasting changes to mental health. CBT can change how people view themselves and the world in a positive way. The 8 pillars of practical optimism are based on evidence-based techniques for managing stress, coping with adversity, and preventing low moods like anxiety and depression. However, the goal of PO is not just treating mental illness, but promoting overall mental wellness and flourishing. PO takes a strengths-based approach and teaches skills like dwelling in possibility rather than rumination. It helps develop self-awareness, effective problem-solving, a sense of purpose, and compassion. Practical optimists are resilient, seek opportunities to grow, and can enjoy life's ups and downs. The exercise prompts self-reflection on how one is doing in different areas linked to the 8 pillars, like meaning, emotions, problem-solving, resilience, self-care, confidence, and relationships. It encourages noting strengths as well as areas for improvement without judgment. The goal is clearer self-understanding to guide focus on personal wellness. Keeping a journal can support ongoing practice of PO skills and tracking progress over time. The non-diagnostic approach aims to boost flourishing, not just treat illness symptoms. Practical optimism provides a holistic, strengths-based framework for living well. The text describes the 8 pillars of practical optimism as an approach to cultivating a healthy, optimistic mindset and overall well-being. Each pillar addresses a different aspect. 1. Purpose. Finding meaning and setting authentic goals through intentional thinking. 2. Processing emotions. Identifying, expressing, and managing emotions skillfully. 3. Problem solving. Using intuition and logic together to handle challenges effectively. 4. Pride. Developing a healthy self-worth despite life's ups and downs. 5. Proficiency. Building confidence in abilities and improving skills. 6. Present. Focusing on the present moment and limiting distractions. 7. People. Developing quality relationships and a sense of belonging. 8. Healthy habits. Adopting habits like exercise, mindfulness for wellness, and longevity. The text then provides more details on each pillar and shares how the author has applied these principles in their medical practice and personal life to make positive changes. It encourages the reader to try out the ideas and see which pillars resonate most over time. The overall approach aims to cultivate an adaptive, purpose-driven mindset for well-being. The chapter discusses the importance of finding purpose and meaning in life to foster mental well-being and happiness. Lacking purpose can lead to feelings of emptiness, irritability, and even depression. The case of Sam is presented, a man feeling lost and directionless in his high-stress job with long hours and commute. He is drinking more and drawn to an attractive coworker. The author defines purpose as what excites and motivates you, benefits others, and is also beneficial to your own health. Having purpose provides direction and buffer against envy. Lacking purpose can manifest as going through the motions, uncertainty, distraction behaviors. Key phrases people use include feeling unfulfilled, lost, bored, or cynical in their work. Sam confessed to briefly questioning his purpose in living, though he had no suicide plans. Finding purpose is important for mental health protection and prevention. The chapter introduces the 3 pathways to reigniting your purpose model to help people discover and reconnect with their sense of purpose. Pursuing purpose and giving back to others can have significant benefits for physical and mental health. Studies have shown that having a sense of purpose is linked to living longer. People who expressed purpose were 30% less likely to die during follow-up periods compared to those with less well-being. Feeling purposeful is also associated with lower risks of heart attacks, strokes, and physical pain. Volunteering regularly can increase longevity and improve mental health outcomes like depression and loneliness. Getting adolescents involved in volunteering also benefits their health, showing reductions in cardiovascular disease risk factors like inflammation, cholesterol levels, and obesity incidence. In general, the science demonstrates that living purposefully and helping others has wide-ranging positive impacts, improving both lifespan and various aspects of well-being. Pursuing purpose through activities like volunteering or other giving back efforts seems to confer many health benefits. Having a sense of purpose and meaning in life is strongly linked to better health and well-being. It is associated with lower stress levels, lower risk of depressions, anxiety, better sleep, lower risk of dementia, and greater preventative health behaviors. Maintaining a sense of purpose can help shield against the biological impacts of stress, such as telomere shortening caused by excessive stress. One study found that meditating mothers were able to prevent telomere shortening during high-stress periods. Having purpose creates better work and study habits. Students are more engaged when school feels relevant to their goals, and companies with a strong sense of purpose tend to be more productive and enjoyable places to work. Giving support to others by connecting our daily actions to helping and serving others can significantly improve our sense of well-being and satisfaction. Reframing mundane tasks in terms of benefits to others gives those tasks more meaning. While having purpose is beneficial, it's also important to avoid burnout from becoming overly invested in our goals at the expense of rest, relationships, and other life domains. Burnout can undermine well-being and sense of purpose over time if not addressed. Maintaining balance is key. The passage discusses helping a patient named Sam identify areas of dissatisfaction in his life, including his job, relationships, and health habits, which were contributing to stress and lack of purpose. It suggests asking reflective questions to gain insight into one's sense of purpose, influences, current situation, desired changes, risks, benefits of different paths, and sources of joy and meaning. To move forward, Sam worked on finding purpose at his job by taking on more meaningful projects, shifted his focus to positively impacting others, improved communication with his wife, expanded his social network, and made time for self-care, like exercise. Small, incremental steps can be taken internally by challenging negative thoughts and managing emotions, and externally by making lifestyle and career changes to better align with one's sense of purpose. Developing a purpose in motion plan with specific action items is recommended, such as cultivating curiosity, seeking challenges, behavioral activation, connecting with nature, getting a mentor, and considering a career change if needed. Adding new and challenging work duties, known as task crafting, or transferring some tasks to others, can make a job feel fresh and rewarding. Cognitive crafting, like taking on new company initiatives, projects, or roles that align with your values, can also help. Reminding yourself how your current job helps others can boost purpose. Taking a strengths assessment online can help define your strengths and find purposeful work. Finding purpose together through networking, community groups, or creating your own can help. Turning personal pain or hardships into helping others through similar experiences, like counseling, can be healing and provide purpose. Committing to regular exercise, movement practice boosts mood, focus, and creativity, helping you feel more purposeful. Exercise and purpose reinforce each other. When envisioning your future, consider what a meaningful life looks like in 1, 5, and 10 years. What do you love doing for its own sake? How can you help the world? While being flexible, remain committed to your core purpose for well-being and longevity, as purpose is vital to health. Nicole and the author discuss the challenges that many mothers and young families face in society, including the salary gender gap that leads to career setbacks for women who take time off for caregiving. There is also an unrealistic expectation for women to be perfect professionals, parents, and partners. While it can be comforting to know others face similar issues due to larger social constructs, some elements are within our control. Maintaining a sense of agency, even with limited options, can help combat feelings of helplessness. The author tried to be understanding of the social context while also acknowledging the need for Nicole to emotionally process why she felt unable to act, even knowing intellectually that she had some potential solutions. Strong emotions were threatening to overflow like a dam. Managing emotions is key, otherwise they will manage you. Emotional processing involves being aware of feelings and how they connect to past experiences, while emotional regulation involves accurately sensing and handling emotions in real-time situations. Both are important for effective problem-solving and advocating for oneself within limitations. Here is a summary of the key points. Unprocessed emotions like grief, anxiety, shame, fear, and anger from trauma can negatively impact our physical and mental health if left unaddressed. They can dominate our thinking and behaviors in unhelpful ways. We often overestimate threats and underestimate our ability to handle situations, leading to excessive anxiety, fear, avoidance, or withdrawal. Small amounts of manageable stress can be motivating, while uncontrollable chronic stress is detrimental. Rumination is repetitive negative thinking that replays distressing events and perpetuates negative emotions. Examples like, "I'm not good enough," loops were discussed. Learned helplessness occurs when we feel we cannot control negative outcomes, based on classic experiments with dogs. New research shows our default is a passive response to prolonged stress, but we can learn to perceive control and empowerment through techniques like PO that activate prefrontal brain regions. The overall message is that processing emotions in a controlled, compassionate way helps overcome unhelpful thought patterns and behavior patterns that arise from unaddressed emotions like trauma, grief, and chronic stress. It empowers us to better handle challenges and perceive ourselves as capable of influencing outcomes. The passage discusses cognitive dissonance and how it relates to Nicole's situation. Nicole feels pressure to live up to unrealistic societal standards of motherhood while also wanting to keep her career. This creates internal conflict or cognitive dissonance. Nicole also experiences cognitive dissonance between her own values. She values independence but needs help, and values speaking up but finds it difficult. This internal clash is uncomfortable. The passage then outlines a four-step approach to increase self-awareness and process uncomfortable emotions in a healthy way. 1. Name it. Label your emotions verbally to reduce their power over you. Speaking about feelings lessens their burden. 2. Tame it. Recognize emotions come with physical sensations. Naming emotions allows you to experience them without needing to immediately act on them. 3. Claim it. Take ownership of your emotions rather than suppressing or reacting destructively. Say, "I'm angry," instead of lashing out. 4. Reframe it. After naming, taming, and claiming emotions, look at the situation differently to develop a constructive response. The key messages are that cognitive dissonance creates internal conflict and discomfort, and that increased self-awareness through emotional processing can help manage distressing feelings in a healthy way. This summarizes techniques for understanding, managing, and regulating your emotions in a healthy way. It encourages you to sit quietly and identify emotions you feel in response to challenging situations or people, noting any physical sensations in your body. You label the emotions and explore their facets. It has you reflect on when you feel powerful sadness, hurt, fear, or anger, and any bodily sensations associated with each. The next step is to examine what triggers your emotions and patterns, like certain situations that are difficult or fears of being overwhelmed. Techniques for taming emotions include disrupting unhealthy patterns with compassionate, corrective, calming, and connective coping behaviors. Decentering involves observing emotions as passing mental events rather than personalized truths. Befriending your mind and body involves non-judgmentally noticing and welcoming a range of emotions through mindfulness of breath and body sensations. Releasing worries by writing them in a journal is recommended to ease anxiety and boost performance on challenging tasks. The overall message is to thoughtfully understand your emotions, recognize triggers, and use mindfulness and coping strategies to regulate emotions in a healthy way. Labeling, exploring, and making space for a range of feelings are emphasized. The chapter discusses problem solving, which involves both internal processing of emotions and external actions to address challenges. Emotional regulation is key to problem solving. This involves pausing, checking in on feelings and thoughts, and rationally assessing situations before responding instead of reacting. Internal problem solving determines one's outlook on problems, so accurately assessing is important before addressing solutions. Emotional regulation is not about suppressing feelings, but managing stress to thrive, not just survive. The chapter will provide techniques for problem solving as a practical optimist, including identifying one's problem-solving style and cognitive distortions that hinder solutions. Emotional recognition and processing from the previous chapter lays the groundwork for effective problem-solving by understanding what emotions are present in any given situation. So in summary, the chapter stresses the importance of internal emotional regulation and processing for rational problem assessment and solution finding when challenges arise, using techniques tailored to the practical optimism approach. Here is a summary of the key points. The author introduces the 5 R's of emotional regulation and real-world problem solving, and 4 guidelines for problem solving with others. Common problem-solving practices are described for practical optimists, pessimists, and ostrich optimists, those who avoid problems. Practical optimists take a proactive, solution-focused approach, while pessimists tend to avoid or ruminate. An exercise contrasts maximizers and satisficers, those who need all information before deciding versus those who accept good enough. Flexibility is important based on the situation. The author's mother is used as an example of a maximizer, searching endlessly for the perfect decision. This can delay action when a good option exists. Practical optimists can toggle between maximizer and satisficer modes as needed, using techniques like the rule of threes for quicker decisions. Mastering one's own mindset is important for problem solving. The example of patient Sejal shows how considering alternative views can provide a more balanced perspective. The overall message is on developing a proactive yet flexible approach to problem solving, coupled with managing subjective biases and emotions. Practical tools and examples are provided. Sejal, an employee, felt left out of certain meetings and assumed her boss disliked her personally. She was unhappy at her job as a result. The assistant suggested Sejal request feedback from her boss through a mid-year review meeting, rather than waiting until the end of the year. In preparing for the meeting, Sejal considered evidence that her boss may actually like her, such as a higher-than-usual bonus and discussion of a possible promotion. During the meeting, Sejal's boss clarified the meetings were confidential about company downsizing, not personal. He assured Sejal of her value and suggested more regular check-ins. Had Sejal not asked for clarification, her negative assumption may have colored her whole perception and happiness at the job. Practical optimists engage with reality by asking for feedback to get a fuller picture. Cognitive behavioral techniques like cognitive restructuring can help practical optimists manage thoughts, emotions, and behaviors in productive ways to solve problems. Sejal's experience is used as an example of how this ABCE process could be applied. Here are the key points about stress and performance from the passage. Some amount of stress can improve performance by helping you focus and energizing you. However, too much stress becomes counterproductive. Whether to attend a party where your ex will be present depends on factors like how brutal the breakup was, if it will be an otherwise enjoyable party, if important networking or friends will be there, and if you've made peace with the past regarding your ex. If there is some stress but you feel you can manage it, it may be worth attending to take advantage of other benefits like networking or friends. You can take steps to reduce stress, like contributing to the event, leaving at times away from your ex, dressing well, and having business cards ready to network effectively. Similar logic applies to potentially stressful work or industry events. You can set boundaries, rearrange schedules, bring a support person, and focus only on required parts to get benefits while limiting stress exposure. Seeking input from others and examining assumptions can help solve problems more effectively by regulating emotions and gaining accurate perspectives. Venting emotions first can also help in problem solving by easing emotional intensity. So in summary, a moderate amount of stress can aid performance, but too much is counterproductive. Strategies like boundary setting, contributing positively, and requesting input can help manage stress levels for optimal problem solving. Taking input from a trusted confidant works best when you are emotionally receptive to suggestions and ready to take proactive steps to change a situation. It helps to write down the positive aspects or potential good outcomes before talking to someone. When seeking advice from others, find out if they have the time and bandwidth to talk. Be sure to thank them for their time. A therapist can also provide an objective perspective. It's helpful to remind yourself of skills, abilities, and past challenges you've overcome. Look for similarities to the current situation and skills you can apply. When a situation cannot be changed, work on changing your relationship to it through reframing or reappraising it in a positive light. Look for opportunities and view obstacles as temporary inconveniences. Effective problem solving with others involves considering alternatives, agreeing on shared goals, and avoiding criticism of each other. Focus on collaborative solutions that meet everyone's needs. Drill down to the underlying issues rather than surface problems. In couples counseling, identify shared goals and values rather than arguing over specifics. Develop a schedule and spread responsibilities to reduce stress. Make time for relationships, hobbies, relaxation, and self-care. When seeking counseling, define the core problem simply. Determine the underlying reasons for concern by asking why it matters to gain insight and solution ideas. Here are the key points about healthy pride from the chapter. Healthy pride is rooted in an intrinsic, enduring sense of one's inherent worth and dignity as a human being. It's not dependent on external factors like achievements, accomplishments, or other people's opinions. It balances confidence with humility. One has a realistic and stable sense of self-worth without being overly inflated or insecure. It protects against intrusive thoughts that make one feel ashamed or guilt-ridden. It promotes mental well-being. It acknowledges there is always more to learn from life experiences and from others. It fosters appreciation for continuous self-improvement. Building healthy pride involves developing a realistic, compassionate view of oneself and cultivating a sense of dignity and worth that comes from within, not from external validation. The 5-step blueprint discussed in later sections helps one develop this stable, kind, and realistic sense of self that forms the foundation for healthy pride. It's an important aspect of mental well-being, resilience, and effective problem solving. In summary, healthy pride is a balanced, intrinsic sense of one's self-worth that promotes confidence, humility, learning from others, and mental well-being. This passage discusses the concept of healthy pride. Some key points. Healthy pride is unconditional. It does not depend on successes, failures. It is accurate, but does not exaggerate strengths, weaknesses. Healthy pride is kind to oneself and others through self-compassion, not self-evaluation. It acknowledges fallibility without self-flagellation. Healthy pride encourages growth and resilience by not immobilizing with guilt, shame. It supports adaptation and flourishing. Healthy pride is more stable than contingent self-esteem. It allows for constructive guilt, but protects against shame's toxicity. Healthy pride fosters healthier relationships free from comparison. It promotes belonging, worth, and mutual support. Healthy pride triggers the caregiving system versus fight or flight. It reduces stress and promotes well-being. Positive childhood experiences, cultural messages, and secure attachments influence healthy pride development. Unconditional positive strokes are affirming. The passage discusses how to maintain a healthy sense of pride without feelings of guilt or shame. It proposes cultivating self-compassion using the acronym GRACE as a blueprint. G. Gratitude for the good. Choosing to focus on positives and appreciate good things in life and oneself. Gratitude boosts mood, buffers stress, and promotes well-being. R. Recognition of reality. Seeing both flaws and potential clearly without denial. A. Acceptance of imperfection. Understanding that mistakes and failures are part of life. C. Compassion for yourself. Treating oneself with the same care and understanding given to others to overcome negativity and motivate growth. E. Empathy for others. Considering other perspectives beyond one's own experiences. Self-compassion counteracts excessive guilt and shame by promoting acceptance, learning from mistakes, and finding meaning even in difficulties. It stimulates neural pathways for calmness and exploration versus defensiveness. Nurturing gratitude, perspective-taking, and kindness towards oneself can help maintain pride and fulfillment without feelings of being overwhelmed or unable to meet expectations. Here are 5 things I'm grateful for in my life. 1. My health. I'm thankful that I'm able to experience each day without major health issues. Good health allows me to appreciate all life has to offer. 2. My family. I'm grateful for their love and support. Family is so important, and I'm lucky to have people who care about me. 3. My education. Being able to learn new things and continue growing in knowledge is a gift. And education opens many doors. 4. Nature. I appreciate being able to enjoy the beauty in the world around me, the changing of the seasons, plants and animals, landscapes, and more. Nature can lift our spirits. 5. Each new day. I'm grateful for every morning that I wake up and am able to experience another day on this earth. Each day is a chance for new experiences, growth, and making positive contributions. However I can. Here is a summary of the key points. Andy awkwardly and abruptly left after spilling food on herself and her coworkers' clothes during a collision while changing into workout clothes at work. The judgment focuses on how Andy sees herself as clumsy, a loser, and a slob, rather than objectively framing the event. Andy blames herself and personalizes the situation, thinking it wouldn't have happened if she planned ahead, which can lead to shame when situational failures are seen as character flaws. Andy uses emotional reasoning to assume her negative self-talk accurately represents the external event. She sets high, rigid expectations for herself, should statements, and feels guilty for not meeting them. Andy goes down a what-if rabbit hole seeking certainty about possible outcomes. She focuses on regret over past actions like gaining weight that she thinks contributed to the situation. Andy makes unfair comparisons to how fit coworkers could have handled the situation differently. So in summary, Andy engages in various cognitive distortions and negative self-talk in response to the awkward event that is holding her back from accepting and moving past it in a more rational, less shame-inducing way. The person is feeling stressed, trying to balance work demands with family obligations and maintain work-life balance. They feel torn between the independent, self-assertive values emphasized in their Western profession society and the more humble, deferential values of their traditional Indian upbringing. No matter what they do, they feel they are disappointing someone. In therapy, their psychologist helps them recognize this conflict as shoulding on yourself, having harsh personal rules and unrealistic expectations from both environments that create an impossible tyranny. The psychologist helps them identify the source of their stress and anxiety as the large gaps between what their situation requires and what they can realistically deliver given the conflicting value systems and expectations. Here are the key points summarized. People often respond to anxiety and stress in habitual ways like becoming overly compliant, aggressive, or withdrawing. What's needed is flexibility to collaborate, set boundaries, or step back appropriately for each situation. Awareness of one's feelings, cognitive distortions, and ability to view situations objectively, yet self-compassionately, allows for this flexibility. Those unaware of alternatives may resort to unhealthy coping like self-flagellation, disordered eating, self-harm, or substance abuse to alleviate anxiety from perfectionism. Self-compassion and rewriting unrealistic shoulds can help reduce costs of people-pleasing and achieve a healthier balance. Greater use of plural pronouns like we is linked to feeling less lonely and depressed. Self-compassion enables empathy and understanding that all humans are flawed. Self-compassion improves relationships through facilitating empathy, compassion, trust, acceptance, and forgiveness. Expressing gratitude and kindness toward others helps connect people and promote mental health, optimism, by combating isolation. Accepting one's intrinsic worth independent of achievements was a fundamental shift for the author in therapy. Self-care is an act of self-compassion. Change takes time, but focused journaling on values can help redirect from unhelpful thinking patterns to greater flexibility. Here's a summary of the key points from the passage. East River, the main character, Sue, turns to leave after sharing a private conversation with a woman named Shelley. Shelley has provided Sue comfort and an opportunity to vent about her difficulties. As Sue leaves, she notices a ceramic vase on Shelley's bookshelf that is made using the Japanese art of kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold or silver and valuing imperfections. This reminds Sue of her own journey toward healing from past trauma. Sue takes the elevator down, reflecting on how Shelley made her feel truly seen and heard for the first time in a long time. The kintsugi vase also represents for Sue the art of healing, learning to practice healing for both others and herself. The passage describes a brief moment of connection and understanding between Sue and Shelley. It highlights how small acts of empathy and caring for others can be meaningful in the process of healing from difficulties in one's life and learning to value both perfection and imperfection. The kintsugi vase serves as a metaphor for Sue's own ongoing journey toward wholeness. The passage discusses building self-efficacy, which is confidence in one's ability to perform a task successfully. It has four main components: personal experience, vicarious experience, verbal persuasion, and physiological feedback. Self-efficacy improves work performance, health outcomes, and academic achievement. However, barriers can arise that undermine self-efficacy. The three main barriers discussed are: 1. Helplessness, feeling broken, powerless, or alone. This can be overcome with validation, acknowledging difficulties and making the person feel understood, safe, and that it's okay to need time and support for healing. 2. Stuckness, feeling a task is too overwhelming, impossible to do correctly, or one will never improve. Flexibility is needed, being open to trying different approaches and allowing for mistakes as part of the learning process. 3. Fatigue, feeling a task is too difficult or one wants to give up. Self-support is key, being kind and encouraging to oneself through the challenges, validating people's experiences, cultivating flexibility, and providing self-support can help build self-efficacy by overcoming barriers that may undermine confidence and motivation. This allows people to continue developing skills and making progress despite challenges. The article discusses ways to promote flexibility in thought and action to help get unstuck and improve performance when facing challenges. It recommends viewing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats. Changing one's mindset from a fixed to a growth mindset can help with this by believing abilities can be developed rather than limited. It also suggests challenging distorted negative thoughts through cognitive restructuring techniques like thought logs. Reframing perceptions in a more positive light can help combat issues like perfectionism. Connecting goals and challenges to one's sense of purpose, meaning, and identity can provide motivation to keep going, even if specific plans don't work out. Recalling past accomplishments and strengths can boost self-efficacy and confidence when facing new difficulties. Maintaining flexibility rather than rigid thinking can aid in better handling challenges. The medical director of a trauma program reached out to recruit the writer for a new medical directorship position. The writer respected the director enormously and felt that if she thought they could do the job, then they may be able to. With guidance and encouragement, the writer could develop the necessary skills and knowledge. They had experience working with diverse patients and knew how to effectively communicate with patients. While they may not have direct experience in this exact role, they had handled other difficult situations in the past. Taking on new challenges requires an openness to learning. With dedication to research, seeking advice from colleagues, attending conferences, and continuously learning through experience on the job, the writer felt they could succeed in this new opportunity. Lena felt invisible in her large family, and like she wasn't important enough to sit at the family dinner table with everyone else. She realized she takes on a caretaker role at work as well, helping others, but finding it hard to ask for what she wants or feels she needs. Speaking with the counselor, Lena recognized patterns from her family experience replicating at work. The counselor suggested seeking feedback from her boss to get a sense of how she is perceived and valued, rather than relying on her own perceptions. They role-played Lena asking her boss for feedback and potential ways to increase her visibility and inclusion in meetings and projects. Practicing visualizing success, like role-playing conversations, can help build self-efficacy and confidence to achieve goals. Continuing to check in with her boss, Lena eventually volunteered to cover meetings when he was away, and her boss agreed, boosting her confidence further in asking for what she needs. The author and her husband got lost while traveling in Portugal and ended up at a small fishing village cafe with no Wi-Fi. The 85-year-old owner, João, didn't provide the Wi-Fi password when asked, pointing to a sign saying, "Where the Wi-Fi is low, the connection is high." They struggled without Google to help with menu translations, directions, tips, etc., but ended up enjoying impromptu conversations. João warned them they wouldn't make dinner in Lagos as planned without a reservation, and they should stay and eat at his cafe instead. They ordered the traditional dishes João recommended, and he joined them, along with his family, who owned and ran the cafe. They spent over 2.5 hours there, enjoying the food and stories, rather than interrupting a hurried meal to check phones' Wi-Fi. The author wondered if their experience would have been different, and likely less personal/connected, if Wi-Fi had been available. So in short, getting lost led the author and her husband to a memorable local experience without Wi-Fi, focusing fully on the present moment. Based on the passages discuss how technologies like smartphones, social media, and other digital devices have become very integrated into our daily lives and routines, to the point of habitual checking and multitasking. There is concern that over-reliance on these technologies may be negatively impacting empathy, social skills, attention spans, reading comprehension, and quality of in-person interactions. Studies are linking more tech usage to declines in these areas. However, it's also noted that society has changed in other ways over recent decades, like more focus on external achievement and success, less leisure time spent socially in person, and increased exposure to disturbing media content. So technology alone is not entirely to blame. Empathy is discussed as something that can potentially decrease or increase based on practices and intentionality. While tech can magnify issues, we still have agency over our digital habits and attention. Practical steps are suggested to thoughtfully integrate tech instead of letting it control our attention, like being more present during in-person socializing and reducing screen time before bed to optimize sleep. To answer the question, there is no indication in the passages of whether the author would have talked with João and his family, as there is no mention of those specific people. The focus is on analyzing research and offering suggestions generally about digital habits and cultivating empathy. We have a natural tendency called novelty bias, which drives our curiosity to pay attention to new stimuli and potential threats, such as sudden sounds in our environment. This helped our ancestors survive. In the digital world, novelty bias causes us to constantly check notifications, social media, emails for new updates out of curiosity. We are also wired to seek dopamine rewards from pleasurable behaviors to encourage positive behaviors evolutionarily. Constant exposure to digital stimuli provides rapid dopamine hits from our devices. Having too many options can paradoxically overwhelm people and reduce decision-making ability. Modern technology offers countless choices, but can lead to decision fatigue. Distraction conflict arises when we try to focus on both digital notifications and real-world interactions at the same time, dividing our limited mental bandwidth. Our monkey mind gets overstimulated trying to process all incoming information without distinguishing between what needs attention and what doesn't. This causes rumination and exhaustion. Common cognitive traps are being trapped in the past through rumination, trapped in the future through worrying, and trapped in comparisons to others, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy. FOMO, or fear of missing out, is more than just the fear. It's the fear of being left out or not belonging. This unsettled feeling may drive constant social media checking. People frequently check social media at inappropriate times, like when waking at night, driving, spending family time, working or studying, due to FOMO, fear of missing out. This can lead to disruption and loss of focus. FOMO can negatively impact mood, life satisfaction, sleep, attention, and self-worth. It overlaps with feelings of rejection and isolation, which can cause physical symptoms like stomachaches, palpitations, dizziness, and insomnia. Self-comparison and FOMO have always existed, but social media magnifies it to an extreme level of comparison that threatens one's sense of self. Excessive self-focus and rumination, seen on brain scans, is linked to mental health issues. Mindfulness techniques like present moment awareness can quiet overactive brain regions involved in rumination. Present moment awareness allows one to observe thoughts objectively without judgment and respond mindfully rather than reacting. It increases appreciation of life's moments and fosters kinder perspectives on others. Savoring involves consciously appreciating present sensory experiences, past memories, and future anticipated experiences to derive more enjoyment from life. It also includes savoring in-person relationships. Mental fatigue can stem from constant divided attention across demands. It impacts functions like memory, decision-making, and empathy. Rest is important, including physical, mental, sensory, and social-emotional components. Present moment mindfulness techniques can help induce states of rest. Here is a summary of the key points. Melatonin levels naturally rise in the evening, promoting nighttime sleep. Maintaining a regular sleep schedule helps support this natural circadian rhythm. Activities like meditating, reading for pleasure, journaling, and taking walks can help people relax and unwind in the evening as melatonin levels rise. Making time for leisure practices provides mental, physical, and social benefits like decreased stress, better connections with others, and increased happiness and well-being. Enjoying leisure time is important for self-care. Finding flow experiences through engaging, challenging activities that people are interested in can help quiet the mind and promote presence in the moment. Being in the zone through a hobby or interest is beneficial for mental wellness. Practicing gratitude, such as expressing appreciation to others, can boost self-worth and help people focus on the present positively rather than dwelling on past regrets or comparing to others. In summary, the passage discusses various strategies and activities like relaxing in the evening, leisure practices, finding flow, and cultivating gratitude as ways to support natural circadian rhythms and promote mental presence in the present moment. Regular self-care and engaging in interests or hobbies provides benefits for well-being and stress management. Here is a summary of the key points. The passage suggests taking up new hobbies or rediscovering old passions that you used to find fulfilling as a way to spend your time in a more meaningful way and get into a state of flow. It recommends scheduling regular flow time periods of at least 15 minutes without distractions like phones to engage in activities that immerse you. Connecting to nature and experiencing awe can provide many psychological benefits, like life satisfaction and vitality. Spending time in nature or engaging in awe-inspiring activities helps get out of rumination. It's important to be intentional about how you spend your time and prioritize the tasks that add the most meaning and purpose. You may need to let go of some less important obligations and get help from others. Regarding technology use, the passage advocates being mindful of how and why you use social media. It provides different levels of strategies to take back control of your tech habits and spend more time engaged in the present moment. So in summary, the key message is to spend your time in a purposeful way on activities that foster flow, connection to nature, fulfillment, and being present through reducing distractions and prioritizing what really matters. Regaining control of your technology habits is part of that. Here are the key points summarized. Loneliness and lack of quality social connections are major issues impacting many Americans according to several surveys. Rates of loneliness have remained high even after the pandemic. Reasons for increasing loneliness include longer work hours, emphasis on productivity achievement, less civic engagement, religious involvement, remote work, reduced time with extended family community, and social media use. Loneliness is defined as a longing for meaningful connection, not just a lack of social contacts. We can feel lonely even when surrounded by people if the connections aren't meaningful. Loneliness has serious health impacts like increased inflammation, risks for heart disease, cancer, stroke, mental health issues, cognitive decline, and accelerated aging. It alters genes and brain functioning in ways similar to depression. Relationships provide buffer against stress, illness, and depression. For those predisposed to loneliness, depression, lack of connections can have even worse consequences like suicide attempts, as in the case of Liz. Overall, social connection is a basic human need. Early childhood attachment experiences with caregivers have a profound impact on lifelong social and emotional development. Babies depend on caregivers for survival and learn to form attachments in the first years of life. Secure attachment occurs when caregivers are consistently responsive and nurturing. Insecure attachment styles, avoidant or anxious, can develop if caregivers are inconsistently responsive, invalidating of emotions, or abusive. People with avoidant attachment styles internalize a need to be self-reliant and may suppress emotions. They have difficulty trusting others and seeking help. Liz likely developed an avoidant style due to her critical upbringing, leaving her isolated despite achievements. Anxious attachment occurs when caregivers are inconsistently nurturing. People with this style crave approval and reassurance in relationships. They may become overly dependent on others and hypervigilant about potential rejection. Insecure attachment is linked to higher rates of health issues like cardiovascular disease, pain, and mental health problems like depression and anxiety. Understanding early attachment experiences can help address relationship and mental health issues. Here is a summary of the key points about insecure attachment styles. Avoidant attachment style results in overdeveloped self-reliance and underdeveloped help-seeking or help-giving. This can lead to ending relationships prematurely or being emotionally distant. Anxious attachment style involves an overactive threat system, hypersensitivity to perceived rejection or loss, and underdeveloped self-soothing abilities. This can lead to clinging to unhealthy relationships too long. Both avoidant and anxious styles stem from early caregiving experiences where emotional needs were not consistently met. This results in low self-compassion and difficulties regulating emotions in relationships. The insecure styles can manifest as withdrawing or being too pushy socially due to an imbalance between the fight or flight and feed and breed systems. With awareness and work on strengthening inner caregiving strategies and emotional processing skills, people can gradually adopt more secure attachment behaviors over time. The goal is finding a healthy balance between reliance on self and others. In summary, insecure attachment develops from inconsistencies in early caregiving that leave one attachment system overactive and another underactive, disrupting emotional regulation and relating in relationships. Greater self-understanding and skills can help correct this imbalance over the long term. Here is a summary of the provided text. The text discusses the concept of micro-connections, which are small but emotionally satisfying interactions with acquaintances like baristas, bus drivers, neighbors, etc. These interactions can combat loneliness and provide a positive boost. Researcher Barbara Fredrickson calls these interactions positivity resonance, when people share positive emotions and synchrony through things like eye contact and body language matching. Micro-connections are not substitutes for deeper relationships, but with nurturing, they can develop into more supportive relationships over time. Regular, small social interactions can feed one's well-being. The text provides tips for making micro-connections, like making eye contact, smiling, asking questions, and putting empathy into action by offering help if appropriate. It discusses using the detect, reflect, act approach to listening, detecting what someone is conveying, reflecting it back to confirm understanding, and then acting to show support through presence and offers of assistance. Micro-connections and listening techniques can work to develop any of the 4 types of friendships and help expand one's social circle over time. The techniques aim to deepen understanding and connection between people. Liz struggled with feelings of loneliness and believing her family only visited her in the hospital out of pity. The counselor used cognitive behavioral techniques like antecedent, belief, consequences, distortions, embrace to help Liz challenge her negative perceptions. For Liz's situation, the counselor provided a hypothetical example of how the ABCDE approach could be applied to help Liz recognize cognitive distortions in her thinking and develop a more balanced perspective. Distortions like mind reading, discounting positives, all or nothing thinking, catastrophizing, and emotional reasoning were identified. The embrace step helped Liz consider alternative, more realistic beliefs based on evidence rather than assumptions. Acknowledge her vulnerabilities, but choose to not let them define her. See inherent worth beyond accomplishments, and be kinder to herself. Regular practice of techniques like ABCDE can help catch and challenge automatic negative thoughts to develop more accurate, positive perceptions over time. The summary focuses on how the counselor used cognitive methods to help Liz work on her perceptions of support and challenge distortions, fueling feelings of loneliness and low self-worth. Here are a few key points from the prompt. When meeting new people, it's helpful to smile, introduce yourself, and ask open-ended questions to learn about them and find potential shared interests. Express genuine interest in others. Asking for help can be difficult due to feeling like a burden or embarrassment. However, most people don't mind helping, and it strengthens relationships. Starting with small requests can help ease into bigger ones. Express gratitude after receiving help. It's never too late to reconnect with old friends or people you want to know better. People appreciate unexpected check-ins. Simply reaching out by email or text to say you're thinking of them can rekindle connections over time. Forgiveness involves letting go of resentment toward those who have harmed you. Options include fully forgiving, conditionally forgiving, while verifying changed behavior, or accepting what happened without condoning it in order to move on mentally. Anger can be acknowledged to help grieve and forgive. Healthy relationship boundaries honor all people involved by protecting emotional and physical needs. Prioritizing others' needs over your own consistently can lead to resentment. Communicating boundaries respectfully preserves relationships. The key takeaways are that expressing genuine interest in others, asking for help respectfully, reconnecting thoughtfully, considering forgiveness, and setting clear boundaries can help strengthen relationships and personal well-being. Here is a summary of the key events. Liz was hospitalized for 8 weeks after a suicide attempt. Through treatment and support from staff and others, her mental health improved. Upon discharge, Liz expressed gratitude that others had put her back together and that she was glad to have a second chance. Sometime later, the nursing staff received a beautiful white orchid and a thank you note from Liz's daughter-in-law. The note thanked them for Liz's new beginning. Liz had spent the summer with her son's family in Boston and moved there to be closer to family. Liz also pursued her passion for teaching by taking a visiting professor role at her alma mater, enabled by a connection from a college friend she had reached out to during her treatment. The events demonstrate Liz's recovery and rehabilitation after her suicide attempt. Through treatment and family support, she was given renewed stability and purpose, pursuing both closer family bonds by relocating, as well as a career path aligned with her interests through teaching. The note from her daughter-in-law expressed deep gratitude to the hospital staff for the role they played in Liz's second chance at health and happiness. Stan was struggling to maintain healthy habits like diet and exercise due to work stress, caring for family, and grieving the loss of his father. He wanted to get off blood pressure and cholesterol medications, but kept failing at sticking to lifestyle changes. His inability to follow through was exacerbating his depression. The doctor aimed to help him connect with habit-building capacities rather than focusing only on willpower and choices. Habits are stronger than choices because they don't rely as much on willpower and are more resistant to distractions. Developing healthy behaviors into habits can help people stick to goals even when motivation wavers. The doctor emphasized that having too many choices can lead to poor decisions or no decision at all. It's better to automate good behaviors into habits rather than relying on willpower alone to make good choices each time. Their goal was for Stan to develop health-promoting routines into habits so he wouldn't have to rely on willpower and could better maintain lifestyle changes even when facing challenges in life. This could also help improve his depression by building a sense of self-efficacy. Here is a summary of the key points. Optimists live longer on average, 11 to 15% increase in lifespan, and experience better health in older age compared to pessimists. Their longevity is not just due to genetics. While Americans are living longer overall, health span, time spent in good health, has not increased much. More years are spent with chronic illnesses and on multiple medications. Lifestyle factors like diet, exercise, smoking account for about 80% of longevity, much more than genetics, 20%. Optimism is also influenced more by environment and choices, 75%, than genetics, 25%. The article provides tips for forming sustainable habits, including making them convenient, interesting, accessible, and fun. It recommends starting with intention, setting specific and realistic goals, and adjusting the plan based on what's working. Exercises are given to reflect on origins of current habits, do an intentionality inventory to track time use, and reframe new habit goals positively and specifically. The goal is to develop an action plan to transition from intention to automaticity of healthy habits. The passage discusses strategies for handling obstacles and setbacks that can inhibit the formation of new habits. The key is to feed the good wolf by making healthy habits easy, convenient, and accessible, while starving the bad wolf, or unhealthy habits. It gives the example of potentially unhealthy snacking from the fridge when working from home and facing difficulties. Bad habits persist because they are easy, pleasurable, convenient, and accessible, making them automatic. The passage notes, we want our good habits to have these same qualities to become automated. It says we can use the same techniques to break bad habits as we do to create good ones, by removing motivation, decision, and willpower from the equation. This means removing temptation and opportunity for bad habits while making healthy alternatives readily available. The overall message is that anticipating obstacles and employing strategies like reducing accessibility of unhealthy options while increasing convenience of positive behaviors can help overcome challenges to forming new habits and maintaining them long-term. Maintaining automation is key to long-term success. Here are some key points about overcoming obstacles to developing healthy habits. Setbacks and lack of progress are normal parts of habit formation. Don't be too hard on yourself when they happen. Taking a self-compassionate approach is important for continued motivation. Procrastination often stems from overestimating the difficulty of a task and underestimating one's own abilities. Break big tasks into smaller chunks to feel a sense of progress and accomplishment. Make healthy choices easy and accessible. Have the right foods on hand, workout clothes ready to go, etc. Raise barriers for unhealthy options. Environmental cues play a big role in habits. Anticipate obstacles like stress, travel, etc., and plan contingencies. An if-then mindset can help you stick to goals in less than ideal scenarios. Tracking progress activates dopamine rewards in the brain and keeps you motivated. Celebrate small wins to reinforce positive habits. Ask curious, non-judgmental questions about setbacks to understand what happened without self-criticism. Focus on getting back on track rather than feeling like a failure. Self-compassion supports long-term behavior change. The key is not to be too hard on yourself when obstacles arise. Taking a learning approach and making positive behaviors convenient can help you stay on track over time. The passage discusses how bad habits can snowball if not addressed properly. It acknowledges that setbacks happen to everyone and suggests taking a compassionate approach to overcome them. Some strategies mentioned include staying present, channeling compassion for oneself as one would a friend, questioning one's cravings and needs, finding gratitude, boosting motivation through past successes, pausing instead of quitting when overwhelmed, and gently challenging negative thoughts and beliefs. It also recommends using harm reduction to limit damage from setbacks, including breaks to maintain satisfaction, and identifying triggers for bad habits. The passage notes that goals need to be realistic and compassionate to oneself. It advises uncoupling cues from rewards by choosing alternatives, spotting permission-giving statements that enable bad habits, and connecting goals to one's identity and values to make the habits integral to who one sees themselves as becoming. An example is given of a patient, Stan, setting long-term goals of improving his health markers and a short-term goal of running a 5K to stay motivated through daily health habits changes aimed at managing his condition. The overall message emphasizes a patient, compassionate approach to habit change and overcoming setbacks. The passage discusses strategies for adopting and maintaining positive habits. It emphasizes making habits fun and celebrating small wins. Some key points. Habits are more likely to stick if they are tied to things you value and find enjoyable. Fun emotions like relaxation and reward help inspire persistence with habits and lower the barrier to making them automatic. Celebrating small victories and milestones boosts confidence and helps prevent feelings of failure if larger goals are not fully achieved. Small rewards should support the overall goal. Activities that involve flow states, where the task is engaging yet challenging, can optimize habit formation. Find ways to make habits more interesting and fulfilling. Working on habits with others can provide accountability and social motivation to stick with them. Identifying as someone who does a certain activity can strengthen the identity-based motivation to form that habit. The passage recommends focusing on the 4 Ims of mental health: mastery, mindfulness, meaning, and close mutual relationships as evidence-backed habits that can benefit mental well-being. In summary, it provides tips for making habits more inherently rewarding and fun in order to strengthen motivation and make them more likely to stick long-term. Celebrating progress is also emphasized. Here is a summary of the key points about the 4Ms: movement, meaningful engagement, mastery, and mindfulness. Movement, exercise, gets the body moving through activities like walking, yoga, stretches, provides mental and physical health benefits like reducing stress anxiety, increasing endorphins, and supporting brain growth. Even small amounts like 15 to 30 minutes per day can help. Meaningful engagement, connecting with others through spending quality time with friends, family, volunteering, etc. Social support promotes health and reduces risks like depression. Activities can be simple like sharing a meal or having a conversation. Mastery, learning new skills and improving at something you care about, provides fulfillment and builds competence, can help combat conditions like depression. Activities can take as little as 15 minutes per day. Mindfulness, cultivating present moment awareness through activities like meditation, focused breathing, gratitude, creates changes in the brain to reduce stress, anxiety, can be practiced during any routine activity through focused attention and observation, provides mental benefits. The key message is that incorporating any of these 4Ms consistently, even in small amounts, can meaningfully improve both mental and physical health and quality of life. The passage shares personal reflections on cultivating healthy habits of mindfulness, community engagement, skills building, and self-care. It describes positive childhood memories in India incorporating daily yoga, cooking, and spending time with family community. Later, it discusses how committing to better lifestyle habits over a year helped Stan reverse health issues and depression. Habits are framed as building mental health through the 4Ms: meaning, mastery, mindfulness, and close interpersonal relationships. Membership. While adversity can't always be controlled, one can control attitudes and behaviors through committed, healthy habits. The goal is thriving, not just withstanding hardship, by creating a personal culture of well-being. In the epilogue, the author reflects on treasured memories of their late mother while visiting India with their own family. Their mother's example of care, wisdom, and light continues to inspire. The passage discusses the concept of leaving a legacy and continuing the work of loved ones after they pass. It talks about how the author's mother would tell her to be the light in a dark room, and how she realized she could continue her mother's legacy through her work helping others. It then discusses the concept of practical optimism, developing resilience and incorporating challenges into personal growth. It argues that self-care and well-being benefit both individuals and society. Practical optimism involves applying principles like perspective-taking and self-compassion. Several personal anecdotes are shared to illustrate how practical optimism has helped the author in her life and work. This includes a story from her childhood about dealing with a cockroach infestation with her father, who she sees as modeling practical optimism. The passage ends by expressing gratitude to the editing and publishing team who helped bring this book, sharing the principles of practical optimism to life. It discusses the importance of community support in accomplishing meaningful work. The passage thanks numerous individuals and organizations for their support and assistance in getting the author's book published. It expresses gratitude to the author's literary agents, mentors, friends, colleagues, and medical networks who provided guidance and encouragement over the years to discuss mental health issues. Thanks are also given to family for their love and belief. Finally, the author expresses indebtedness to patients for trusting their care and inspiring continued work in wellness, as well as to past influences who advanced the field of mental health. In summary, the passage conveys deep appreciation for the collaborative efforts that helped bring the author's ideas and insights to a wider audience. Here is a summary of the key points about the topics provided. The author initially experienced mindfulness meditation positively, finding it calming and helpful for processing emotions. Stress, depression, and anxiety can buffer or delay the negative effects of challenging experiences through physiological responses like increased cortisol levels. Cognitive restructuring, a key part of cognitive behavioral therapy, involves challenging and replacing distorted or unhelpful thoughts with more realistic and balanced perspectives. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy combines mindfulness meditation with cognitive restructuring. Comparisons to others can trap people and have negative consequences, but having a sense of purpose may help buffer against these effects. Unfair comparisons and frequent comparisons are especially problematic. Living with self-compassion involves practicing compassion, setting boundaries, reframing emotions, and taking responsibility for one's actions and well-being. It is a key part of achieving the ultimate goal of practical optimism. Emotional processing is important for well-being and involves claiming, naming, and reframing emotions, as well as disrupting unhealthy patterns through mindfulness, cognitive restructuring, and related practices. Unprocessed emotions can contribute to depression, anxiety, and other challenges over time. Emotional regulation strategies include the 5 R's: reassessing situations, reminding oneself of positives, requesting input, refueling through pleasant activities, and reappraising situations in a balanced way. Recognition and validation of emotions is also important. Finding meaning, purpose, and social connections in the workplace can boost well-being and buffer against burnout, while a lack of these factors or feelings of detachment from work can contribute to issues like depression. Work-life balance is also important. Family dinners, traditions, and maintaining family connections impact sense of purpose and well-being. Knowing family medical history is also important. Fatigue, feedback, flexibility, flow states, focus, forgiveness, friendships, and future perspectives are discussed in relation to flourishing and mental health. Genetics, grief, gratitude, growth mindsets, goal setting, guided imagery, guilt, happiness, health, habits, healing, and hopelessness are also covered. Intentionality, integration, imperfection, inflammation, insomnia, healing, humility, humor, and hurt are addressed in the context of well-being. Learned helplessness, leisure, life expectancy, loneliness, longevity, love, judgment, kindness, and listening skills promote mental health. Meditation, meaning, memory, mental health definitions, mentoring, mindfulness, mindsets, mistakes, motivation, and nature are explored. Negative thought patterns, neurobiology, neurological conditions, neuronal activity, novelty bias, and online behaviors impact well-being. Here is a summary of the key points about optimism and optimists. Optimists have positive attitudes and see stressful situations as temporary and external. They believe they can influence events and have positive coping strategies. Advantages of optimism include stress-withstanding abilities, health benefits, and better relationships. Characteristics include hopefulness, resilience, problem-focused coping styles, denial, which can be adaptive, and self-efficacy. There is some genetic component to optimism, and it can be cultivated as an intervention as well. Optimism has a neural basis in increased left prefrontal cortex activity. Pessimism exists on a continuum with realism, and optimists can still experience moments of pessimism. Overly optimistic people may deny problems or take unnecessary risks. Optimism is associated with healthy habits, self-compassion, a growth mindset, and a sense of purpose. Practical optimism builds on techniques from positive psychology to develop optimism skills in a proactive way, focused on evidence-based practices. Here is a summary of the key points. Lack of purpose is linked to depression, lack of flourishing, and can be addressed by rediscovering what is truly important through bigger picture thinking and reconnecting to roots. Finding purpose boosts well-being, improves health, and is beneficial for businesses. Learned helplessness refers to the psychological state where a person believes they cannot control outcomes and give up trying. It is linked to depression and hinders learning. Self-compassion and reframing situations can help overcome learned helplessness. Self-compassion involves being kind and understanding towards oneself, recognizing one's shared humanity, and avoiding self-criticism. It acts as a buffer against rumination and improves relationships, learning, problem-solving, and resilience. Rumination involves excessively dwelling on the past and one's problems, which maintains and exacerbates depressive symptoms. Interrupting rumination through activities, self-care, and mindfulness can help solve problems more constructively. Procrastination is linked to lack of motivation from depression or learned helplessness. Addressing underlying issues like purpose, self-compassion, and reframing can help overcome procrastination. Visualization and role-playing can reinforce learning and build self-efficacy by mentally rehearsing skills and desired behaviors. This helps overcome any learned helplessness associated with a task. Psychotherapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, helps address learned helplessness, interrupt rumination, build self-awareness and self-compassion, and develop practical problem-solving skills. This strengthens resilience. Here is a summary of the key points from NG 23942 in the book. Introduces the concept of two wolves, an internal battle between a positive wolf of hope, compassion, wisdom, and negative wolf of fear, anger, sorrow. Suggests we often underestimate our power to influence which wolf wins. Our thoughts and deeds affect whether the positive or negative wolf gains strength. Encourages identifying our core values to determine which wolf's victory helps us live more consistently with those values. Outlines steps to strengthen the positive wolf, including visualizing it, recalling past successes, defeating the negative wolf, engaging in habits aligned with core values. Advocates tracking progress over time to maintain momentum of the positive wolf and ensure it remains top wolf. The main focus is on using metaphor of two wolves to represent internal battle between positivity versus negativity, empowering readers to identify their values and take practical steps to strengthen their positive wolf over time. Here are the summaries. E for Embrace. Aaron T. Beck, MD, was instrumental in first describing common cognitive distortions and their prominent role in anxiety and depression symptoms. Since then, other experts like David D. Burns have expanded on this cognitive model. D for Distortions. Common cognitive distortions that are prominent in anxiety and depression symptoms include all-or-nothing thinking, overgeneralization, mental filtering, discounting the positive, should statements, and labeling. Cognitive behavioral therapy approaches try to help patients identify and challenge these types of distortions.